Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I'm here to do kind of a mid-month reading check-in. So I will put timestamps for all of the different parts of this video, but basically I'm going to be talking about some Medievalathon plans because I found out about that one after I had already filmed my TBR for the month, and I was like, this is a readathon that I loved participating in, and I'm so excited that Holly is having another round, so I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to talk about a few books that I have recently DNF'd. I don't DNF very often, so I feel like it doesn't really make sense to make them their own video. So I'm going to throw that in here, and then at the end I'm going to do just kind of a currently reading update and chat a little bit about the things that I am reading right now. Also, I apologize if you can hear traffic noises in the background. Like I said in the other video I filmed today, it was just too warm to not have the window open in my room, so that's what we're gonna have to deal with. California was like, how about we have summer and winter in the same week? That would be fun, right? So that's what's going on right now. Okay, so starting with my Medievalathon reading plans, I'm going to link the announcement and everything down below. It is a month-long readathon, so if you just find out about it now, you would probably still be able to participate, and it's all about like choosing different like attributes that you want your character to have, and I had a lot of fun with it last time, and I'm really excited to be participating again, especially because of some of the options that Holly added. And actually some of these prompts I have already completed this month, which is great. So even with all of the books that I already planned on reading, I think I'm looking pretty good, especially when I can double up with other things. So the wardrobe options, we have a few of them, and I chose to pick two. One of them that's like the very fancy looking outfit. The prompt is to read a book that is pristine, and so basically like not a used book, doesn't have a remainder mark on it, anything like that. It is, wow. Should I never do this again? Is that what we're learning here? Anyway, so a pristine book, and I have lots of ones that I could pick from for that, so I'm not going to actually pick a particular book. By the way, you can't double up with prompts for this one because like kind of the spirit of the readathon is that you don't try and hit every prompt, you like pick and choose what you want to do. Then the next one, I think there was a dress that kind of looks like armor almost, that is to read a shiny book, and for that one I have one that I'm actually currently reading, which was in my earlier month reading plans too, so you know, doubling up. And that is The Water Horse by Holly Webb. This is a fantasy novel that takes place in Venice, and I'm like about halfway through and I'm really enjoying it so far, which not that I thought I wasn't going to like it, but I just had very few expectations about what was going to go on, so I'm really enjoying that one so far. And for weapons, I also have two answers, or two options that I want to try and go for. One of them is I think the dual blades, and that is to read either book in a duology, and that's another one that I already talked about, and that is Rapunzel's Revenge by Shannon and Dean Hale, illustrated by Nathan Hale. This is a graphic novel Rapunzel retelling, and I hadn't actually heard anything about it, and then my friend Vendi actually told me that she really enjoyed this duology, and she's like said some things about it that makes me think I'm really gonna love it too, so I'm like extra excited to get to this one now. The other one is A Bow and Arrow, and that is to read a romance, because, you know, like Cupid, bow and arrow. And that's one that I have actually already finished, and that is What the Wind Knows by Amy Harmon. This is a historical fiction kind of time travel romance, but the time travel is not really important, which is exactly how I like it, really. And I have already finished this, really enjoyed it. You'll hear about it in my wrap up for the month, but this is also, it takes place in Ireland in 1921, so like after the Easter Rising and during the movement for the Irish Free State and everything, so really enjoyed this one, and thank you again, Olivia, for gifting this to me. Okay, and then we move on to the one where I have the most options that I have chosen, because that is your animal companion, and I just want to have like a whole herd of animal companions. So the first one is a cat. I definitely want a cat with me, and that is to read a book that has a title that starts with C, and this was surprisingly really difficult, but I ended up picking one that I bought during the month, and I ended up picking Callum's Spellbook, which is a tie-in graphic, is it graphic novel? Or just like, there's illustrations in it, for The Dragon Prince, which is one of my favorite shows. It is one of the only shows I like consistently stay caught up with. There's like maybe two shows that I actually stay caught up with. And from what I've heard, this is not just, like it's not just a like make you buy like extra content kind of thing. From what I've heard, this is like actual like background on the story, and like basically it's not when they just add like a few artwork designs and then they say it's like bonus content. Like there's like actual interesting story content in here, which I'm really excited about. Yeah, so I love this show. I'm really excited to get to this. I also want to have a horse. As somebody pointed out, I think it was Kristen, it makes sense to have a horse in your fantasy world. Like it just seems like that would be smart to have with you. And then just to read a tall hardcover. And this is a very tall hardcover. It's actually a picture book, and that is Bold and Brave, 10 Heroes Who Won Women the Right to Vote by Kirsten Gillibrand and art by Myra Kalman. And this is, I think, exactly what it sounds like. It's about 10 different women who are really instrumental in the fight for women to get the vote. And we have some that are very famous, like Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, but we also have some that I don't feel like we talk about as much, like Jovita Idar and Ida B. Wells. So I'm really looking forward to getting this. Also, I was kind of flipping through it, and I just love these end papers, if I can show you. which says, Mr. President, How Long Must Women Wait for Liberty? By Inez Milholland, and that was one of the things that the protesters put on their signs, and they might have also yelled it when they were protesting outside the White House to President Wilson about getting women the right to vote. So I am really looking forward to this. I love like feminist nonfiction like this. It is like one of my favorite things to read, so really excited, and I think the art looks really pretty as well, and I love the balance, or at least what looks like it's going to be the balance between very well-known women and some that we don't talk about as often as we should. And then finally, the last prompt I want to hit is an orange cover, and that is so I can have a little fox companion. And that's another one that I have already read, which is one I talked about earlier. Look at me actually like sticking to my TBR. That is Summerkin by Sarah Prineas. This is the second book in the Winterling trilogy, which I read the first book a couple months ago, and I did like it quite a bit actually, but I got the feeling that I would enjoy the later books even more, and so far that's true. I really loved this second book actually, and I'm trying to think if I want to like just jump into the third one right away, or like hold off on that and kind of like stretch it out a little bit more, but I'm really enjoying that series. Okay, so now to talk about the few books that I have DNF'd over the last several months, I think. So like I mentioned at the beginning, I very rarely DNF books, and I only ever do it at the very beginning of a book. Like, I know there are lots of different feelings about like how often people should DNF or when people should DNF, but personally, if I have already committed to reading a book, even if I'm not liking it, I generally want to stick it out so that I get like a full and complete review and I can definitively say like, no, it did not get better. Sometimes it has even turned out that like something happens at the very end of the book that I'm like, oh, I'm glad I read this, so I can like tell people like, prepare yourself if this is something that's upsetting to you, that kind of thing. So unless I'm reading something that is like, I feel like actively hurting my like state of mind or like, I don't know, emotional state or anything, like if it's extremely difficult and unpleasant and just like not making me feel good, sometimes I will DNF it after the beginning of the book, but in general I only do it at the beginning, and that is only because I get the feeling that like this book is very different from what I thought, and it's like something I wouldn't have picked up if I had known what it was going to be about. So not necessarily like, oh, a book surprised me, but a book where it's like I don't even feel like I'm reading the book I thought I was reading, if that makes sense. So one of these days I'm going to do a whole video on like my feelings on DNFing and why I do it or why I don't do it, but other things keep coming up. Anyway, so I think these are going to be in roughly chronological order as the best I could remember. And the first one is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. This is a very popular book right now. I'm pretty sure it was nominated for the BookTube SFF Awards, and it's been getting a lot of attention from different awards, and I just didn't like it. I only got 3 pages into this one. I had it out from the library. The hold list was a mile long, and I just realized I don't actually care about this story at all. I think I had been kind of like swept up by the hype a little bit and had sort of talked myself into thinking it sounded interesting, because I do sometimes like portal fantasy, or often even like portal fantasy, but the actual premise of this one didn't really do a lot for me, and it only took 3 pages to make me realize I did not click with this author's writing style. Like I couldn't face reading that for like however many pages the book was going to be. Like just those 3 pages were so like overwritten to me, it felt like. It was descriptive in a way that I don't enjoy, so I decided to pass that one on to the next person on the hold list. This was obviously when our libraries were still open. And next I have The Slanted World by Catherine Fisher. This is the second book in the Chronoptica series, and I did enjoy the first book. It's one of the weirdest things I've ever read, and I was interested in continuing, but it had been like a couple of years. I finally got around to this one, and I only got between 20 and 30 pages in before realizing I aggressively did not care about anything that was happening. It kind of made me realize that in the first one, most of the plot lines I didn't like. Like there were a few elements I thought were interesting, but like the vast majority of subplots going on, I didn't like. So I didn't want to read that for like a whole book or for the whole rest of the series. And judging on reviews I have read of the rest of the series, the books stay confusing and also don't really have enough payoff to justify that. So we'll not be coming back to that one. Next I had The Little Bookshop of Lonely Hearts by Annie Darling. This one I think I got between 1 and 2 chapters into it, and I liked the bookstore aspect of the premise. This is obviously, it's the very beginning of the book, so that would come into the book a lot more later. But like the guy who's introduced as the love interest is just like such an asshole, and I just don't feel like dealing with that right now. This is one I could maybe see myself coming back to at some point in the future, or maybe even reading other companion books in the series, but this one just I was not vibing with. It was kind of set up like the love interest was going to be like that bad boy who's like rude to everyone, but he's like nice to his grandma, or he's like nice to one person. I just like wasn't feeling it. Like I like Hate to Love, but this guy just seemed awful, so didn't feel like reading that. And then the most recent one I have DNF'd is one that I'm really sad about, and that is In Other Lands by Sarah Rees Brennan. I think I got less than 20 pages into this one, maybe around 15. And that was all it took to remind me of how Sarah Rees Brennan's writing style and I just do not click. I have read one other book by her that I didn't really care for, and maybe I would still try something else from her in the future if she like substantially changes the style between books. But there's just something about her writing. It's not poorly written. It's not like overly descriptive or anything, but something about the way she writes, it's like I'm wading through mud. Like it takes me so long to read like a page of her writing. So I really didn't want to do that for more than 400 pages. And the more I learned about what the plot of this book actually is, the less I think I would actually enjoy it. Like the story itself didn't really interest me. I did like the playing off fairy tale and fantasy tropes. Like I was really enjoying that at the beginning, like just in the beginning of this book, but the rest of it, and especially the writing, just made me think that I would not enjoy this one. I do have access to the audiobook, so this is another one someday maybe I might come back to, but it was just such a relief to admit that I wasn't going to finish this one, so maybe that's an indication that I shouldn't come back to it. Okay, so now we're going to wrap this up, this little like reading check-in with the books I am currently reading. I am currently reading 4, which believe it or not for me is not that bad. Or at least it's like under the limit that I kind of unofficially set myself, which is about 5 books. The first one I'm reading is The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is of course the second book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I'm buddy reading this with some lovely friends of mine, Katie, Bendy, and Kelsey, and I think I'm like just about exactly halfway through this one. I'm about to start like book 4, which is what they call the second half of this book. Because apparently Lord of the Rings was like actually designed to be sold and read in one volume, and they just broke it up into 6 different books within that. But I am really enjoying this. This is like, weirdly enough, turned into one of the biggest surprises of the year for me, because I did expect to enjoy the series, but I did not expect it to be like so important to me. Like I've always loved the movies, and I remember enjoying the books when I read them a long time ago, but I don't know, just like they're hitting so much harder this time, and I'm really enjoying that. So very much enjoying that one. I'm also just a couple of chapters into Night of the Dragon by Julie Kagawa. This is the 3rd and final book in the Shadow of the Fox series. And like I said, I'm only at the very beginning, but I am definitely enjoying that one as well. Actually, everything that I'm reading right now I am actively enjoying, which sadly enough is not always the case. Probably that should happen more often. I'll analyze that at a later date. And then also, as I already mentioned, I am currently reading The Watercourse by Holly Webb, which I am about halfway through. It's going really fast, and this is a Venetian-inspired fantasy, which I am really enjoying. I had like no idea what the story was going to be about, except that it was fantasy set in Italy, and that the main girl makes friends with the waterhorse. And this is turning out to be like so much more layered and interesting and a little bit darker than I was expecting, which I'm loving. So I'm just having a great time with this. And then the 4th one I'm reading is actually an ebook, and that is Henry and Fanny by Sherwood Smith. If you guys saw our most recent Austin Anonymous live show, that was from Mansfield Park. I will link that down below if you haven't. Taylor and I had a great time discussing it with Hannah and Julia, and it's funny because every time I reread Mansfield Park, I enjoy it more, and I like the ending less. So this time around, I was so frustrated that I actually bought an ebook, which I had never done before. And it's kind of an alternate ending to Mansfield Park, and I'm excited to see how that is explored. So far I am really enjoying that one as well. I don't know how far into it I am on that one because I'm not used to like gauging that with ebooks. And I think that's everything. So this was just kind of my like, I don't know, I feel like this is almost like booktube housekeeping. I just like take care of all the little things, like updates and things that are going on or what I'm reading. But I really like doing these kind of casual videos. I feel like I don't do them enough. And let me know something that you're currently reading that you're really enjoying. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!